Mainly what we're talking about is this right here. It's our purpose statement. It's Downtown Faith exists to help people follow Jesus into a new life of worship, commitment, love, and generosity by creating space to discuss life and faith. This is kind of in a sentence, in a really long sentence, maybe not a run-on sentence, but a really long sentence, who we are as an organization, as a church. And that was our first week. We discussed, well, what is a church? And what is it supposed to be? And what was it created to be? And how did it start? And we had a great discussion around the church. And we said that when Jesus founded the church, when he started it, when he started talking about it, he used a word that wasn't like what we think of with church. It's been translated church, but the word was actually this Greek word, ekklesia, which meant like an assembly or a group of people, a gathering of people, which is one of the reasons why we call this space our gathering space. It's the idea that church is a who, not a what, right? It's people, it's not a place. And so we said, kind of by definition, that the church is a local gathering of believers who help people follow Jesus, love each other, worship God together, and embody Jesus within their community. And we saw that when the church first started, when it got going, that it was this amazing place of people who tended to share everything they had with each other. And they had this great reputation in their community. And somewhere along the lines, the church maybe hasn't done that or hasn't been that. And we want to be that as a church. And that our big idea that we discussed that week was a community of faith brings hope to a faithless community. Done right, a community of faith can actually bring hope to a faithless community. We said that every vibrant community needs thriving communities of faith. We want other churches here in downtown doing what they do and helping people and encouraging people. And then last week we talked about our mission, which was the part that we want to help people follow Jesus. And we said that Jesus called disciples to go make more disciples. There was this reproduction, not replication, but this reproduction that was happening where a disciple would then reproduce more disciples. And we kind of defined a disciple as one who imitates a teacher or a philosopher's life, adheres to their values and reproduces their teachings, is much more than a transfer of information. See, a lot of times people will go to church, or church will be set up to where someone just gives information, right? And sometimes people feel like the more they know about the Bible or the more they think they know about God and Jesus, the more spiritual they are, right? The more that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And it's actually more than that. It's more than just information and data and having the right theology. There's this this reproduction of looking and behaving and acting like Jesus himself. And so that's what we looked at, the disciples, and they're called to make more disciples. So this week we're gonna look at the bottom part of our purpose statement. We're gonna skip the middle part. That's gonna be the next 4 weeks, and we're gonna look at the bottom part because this is what we call our vision. So we've looked at our mission last week. This is our vision: creating space to discuss life and faith. Now, there's something unique about this vision, and there's something that I want everyone to know. This didn't come from the Bible. Right, and I don't mean that like in a weird way or I'm just doing my own thing kind of way. It's like this was a very personal thing that I grew into, and that I want to help us understand really how this kind of grew in my heart for the downtown community, and really it was the idea of I saw something that was missing. Andy Stanley, in his book Making Vision Stick, he says vision is about what could be and should be. Every vision is a solution to a problem. And so I want to look at kind of the story, if you will, the problem that I saw, what went on in my heart to get us where we are right now, sitting in downtown Las Vegas discussing life and faith. So I'm going to use the whiteboard over here. I have a few words that I want to kind of just throw around. First off, the first part of this story. In 2011, I was in the process of moving back to Las Vegas. I had been out here in 2009, 2010 for an internship with a church in North Las Vegas. And so in 2011, we were making our way back, and I was flying out here, and I was sitting on a plane next to a guy, and he seemed like an interesting fellow, but I struggle with plane conversation because you're there for a while, and if the person's boring but they want to keep talking, it's just awkward, right? And so I just really struggled with conversation, but I kind of kept my eye on him. He seemed like an interesting fellow. Well, it got kind of really bumpy during the flight. You know, like one of those flights where you're just like, man, are we gonna make it? And then it kind of all just smoothed out, and it was like, okay, we're coming in for the landing, and everything was good, and it was like the whole plane breathes this sigh of relief, and then everyone gets really chatty because you're just glad to be alive, and you're sitting next to another human being who's glad to be alive, and so you get really chatty. And so I'm sitting next to this guy, and I asked him, what does he do? And he had worked with Zappos, and he was part of the process and leading the team that was coming down and doing their project of bringing everything to downtown, remodeling City Hall. And then he began to talk about the revitalization and the vision of what was going on in downtown Las Vegas. And it was this incredibly community-oriented vision. And everything that he was saying was a lot like what we were doing with the church that I was at in North Las Vegas. And I felt like this camaraderie, this business, this company, these people had this vision for community. And I was like, yeah, man, and church can really help with that. And so it just kind of like stuck in my brain a little bit. Oh, man, downtown, something's going on. And this guy seems super cool and super interested. And he gave me his information. I never really followed up with him. But then came a big ask. I want to make sure I emphasize the K. A big ask. And I was at my church in North Las Vegas, and we kind of had this new pastor who was casting this new vision, and he really wanted to plant other churches, kind of like what we did here. He wanted to reproduce the church that was there. And so one morning he said, hey, Jeremy, come in here. Come in my office. Would you want to be one of the pastors, a leader? Would you want to lead a startup church, a church plant through our church? And I said, absolutely not. Would I want to do that? That sounds like a terrible idea. I'd never seen myself as this guy, as the lead guy, as the guy who could make that happen. I had been with other friends that had started churches, and it's a very difficult road. But all that night, I actually felt really like guilty for saying no so quickly. And so I got to thinking, and I thought about downtown and what I had heard about on the flight just a few months before this. And I went into his office, and I said, hey, listen, I shouldn't have said no so quickly. I actually felt bad about that. Let me tell you this. If you ever want to put anything in downtown Las Vegas, I'll go do it. Because I think that would be really hard, but I think it would be really fun. And so I would be in for that. He was like, cool. We don't really want to do that, but thanks for letting me know. Right? So then we go to our next word, Christmas. So that next Christmas, we had an amazing Christmas Eve service, and people are flooding out. And this girl with purple hair and this bright makeup comes out, and she's really excited about what just happened in the service. It was really fun. And she looked at the pastor that was there, and he was standing at the back door, and she said, we need this downtown. I live downtown. I work downtown. We need something like this. This was great. And he went, go talk to that guy. And he pointed her over to me, and so she talked to me. I was like, I agree. I agree that something like this would be great downtown. I've heard about what's going on, and I agree it would be amazing. But not right now. I can't do it right now. I got some other things going on. I don't think so. And then I saw this. I saw a sticky note. And that sticky note was over in the Ogden. And someone took a picture of it when they were doing a tour, and the Ogden had all these downtown project people and all these people that were flooding into downtown, part of the revitalization, starting up businesses and being excited about what was going on. And this dream board had all these things on these sticky notes of what could be downtown. And one of them said church. I really want to know who put it up there. I really do. I want to know who put the sticky note that said church up there. But it was this board of what do we want to see downtown. And someone took a picture and shot it over to me. It was really strange to me that this person did this because I wasn't telling anybody about planting a church in downtown or that idea or what's going on. But this person felt like, if I'm going to send this picture, I'm going to send it over to Jeremy. And it kind of got me thinking. And then something else happened. One of the things that I did was I led parents at the other church, and I worked with the next generation, and I did parent trainings all the time. I didn't have any kids at the time, so it was odd that I led parent trainings, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And at one of the parent trainings, I had this idea. I think people want to talk about what's going on in their home more than they want to hear about what should be going on in their home. I think if they wrestle with this, if they really talk about it, then it could be meaningful. So we were going to do this short talks and then these these conversations at tables where parents could talk to each other, and parents who were maybe further down the line could encourage the parents that were younger, and the parents that were younger could get some life to the parents that are further down the line. And so we had these round tables, and we had about 75 parents and people who worked with kids show up to this event. Now, the parent training I had done right before that, 6 months earlier, we had 9 people, and 5 of those people were presenters. It wasn't great. And then all of a sudden, we do this new format, and we had 75 parents show up and want to talk about their homes and how they could be better parents and win at home. And I got this idea, and I thought to myself, I think people want this. I think people want to sit and discuss what's going on. They want to have these conversations that matter and are important to them. And then I read a couple books. Real dangerous, right? Some books. And one of those books talked about the flood, the urbanization, the flood of people into the urban centers of major cities in America. And gave all the stats. And it talked about how churches should be following that, actually should be leading the flood of people into these city centers. And how it's a different kind of church that you have to be. And I thought to myself, okay, I only read this book because the pastor of the church that we were at made the staff read the book. And I actually think everyone stopped reading it, and he lost interest, and I couldn't get enough. And I kept thinking, oh man, maybe, just maybe, there's something going on here. And then I read another book called Essentialism, which talks about your purpose in life. And you got to do that thing. Most people aren't going to do 50 million things. They're going to do one thing, and they're going to live it out. And I thought to myself, well, maybe this is my one thing. And then the kicker all happened on an old couch. Maybe you've been, or you went to the Beat when it was here, the Beat coffee shop. Once a month, I would take a personal retreat day where I would get my life in order and make a plan for the next month and work on my relational accounts and just try and be healthy as a person. And I was sitting in the couch. It looked like they picked it up off the side of the road that was in the Beat coffee shop. It was green, puke green, and you just sunk in, and it took people to help you get out. It was a great couch. And I sat there one day with headphones in, listening to music, kind of tuning out the world. And I looked out the window, and I thought, yeah, here. Let's do all these things that I'm reading about, that I'm talking about. There's this energy. There's these people here. I'm looking around the Beat, and there's these people talking about things. And I thought to myself, yeah, let's do it here. And this vision came out inside of me that was like, okay, the problem is that church hasn't really created a space for people to discuss things. That churches have kind of lost some credibility when it comes to their message. And churches, by and large, in America especially, are losing people because people feel like they don't have a voice. And I think there's a generation coming up that's just tired of being told what to do, that they want to discuss it. They want to talk about it. They want to wrestle with it. They want to own it. And as this was coming up and I saw it with parents, I thought to myself, we could do this as a church. And we should do it downtown because it seems like people have something to say here. And so this came to mind. And this is what we want to talk about today. Is communities need a safe place to wrestle with life's most important matters. Communities need a safe place to discuss and to wrestle with life's most important matters. And I thought to myself, I think the church could be that place. The church could actually create those spaces. The church could be those people. Because I think when we talk about God, we're actually talking about something bigger. So I was sharing this vision with somebody. He said, it reminds me of something. There's a guy who I think is doing some things in some bars. And so I looked the guy up, and I got his book. And it's where we got our pub theology from. And we're actually a part of their website now that he created. And he said this in his book I think is very powerful. Talk of God invariably leads to talk about everything else. Life, faith, doubt, being a neighbor, a parent, sister, brother, spouse, citizen, about what it means to be human. And I thought, we need to create spaces to talk about God, to talk about life and faith, because ultimately what we're talking about are the most important things we can talk about. And that people want to wrestle with these, and people need a place where they feel loved and they feel safe and where everybody knows their name, that they can go and they can have these conversations. And then I thought of a part of the Bible that kind of sprang up as I had these ideas. In the letter to the Colossians, this is actually the church in Colossae. It was over in kind of the Macedonian area. There were like 5 or 6 churches there. And this guy, Paul, who was a church starter, kind of like what we've done here, he would write to these different churches and he would share with them things. And so he wrote to this church. And I think it's very interesting what he encouraged them. He said, devote yourselves to prayer with an alert mind and a thankful heart. Pray for us too, right? He was with this group of people that are going around starting churches. He says that God will give us many opportunities to speak about his mysterious plan concerning Christ. That is why I'm here in chains. So he'd been arrested actually for talking about Jesus. And then he viewed it, well, I'm actually here to talk to these people who are also been arrested and are in this jail to talk to them about Jesus as well. Pray that I will proclaim this message as clearly as I should. Then he tells them, live wisely among those who are not believers and make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversation be gracious and attractive so that you will have the right response for everyone. What encouragement for us all as we sit and we have these conversations, and especially to those who believe and who follow Jesus. One of the things that we want to do here is we want people who don't believe like us to feel like they belong here so that we can have these important conversations with them. And we want to create that space, and it's a safe place. And I love what he says here. Let your conversation be gracious and attractive so you'll have the right response for everyone. The idea here is, Paul said, you're going to have conversations and discussions with people who don't believe like you. Get it right. Do it well. Think about how you approach it. And this has kind of been like something that I remind myself of. I want to be wise as I converse with people and as I set up these discussions, and we've had these discussions on our podcasts, and as we have these discussions at Pub Theology, which, by the way, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Cornish Pasty, come by. We're going to be having these kinds of discussions. And all different kinds of people show up who believe all different kinds of things. And we have these amazing opportunities to hear them, to listen, and then to let our conversation be gracious and attractive. I said earlier the church has been struggling with the opportunity, right? The door's been closing. And I saw this quote, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Build a door. That's what we're doing here at Downtown Faith. Our vision is to build a door so that we can have opportunity after opportunity to talk to people about life and faith, what it means to be human, the most important things. We are creating community opportunity in downtown. People are looking for an opportunity to do this. People are looking for a place to do this. They're looking for people they can turn to when their life is in shambles. And if we already said the church, those people can be hope. They can be hope for that community. And that's what we want to be as we create these conversations and we have these discussions. Communities need a safe place to wrestle with the most important matters. And we talked about this space as a team as we created it. And we talked about we want it to be welcoming, right? And I hope it was welcoming today for everyone. We said we want it to be safe. Like Keel talks about every week. Why? Because we want people to understand what they say here is it's a safe place to talk about who they really are. Enjoyable, right? This should be fun. Helpful. If it's not helpful, people probably won't come back. That's what we said we wanted to be helpful. We wanted rounds. Not technically round and rectangle, but still. And we landed on a word that as a team, we can wrap our minds around. That we're doing a good job. That's engaging. Are people coming and participating, and are they wanting to come back? That's what engaging is. Are people coming in and participating, or are they wanting to come back? And I love every time I see someone come back. I love every time I see a new person come in and sit and discuss and feel this is a safe place. Because I know that we're doing it.
What's good? I'm Akil, the real deal with zeal and mass appeal, and I joined Downtown Faith last year in February 2016. It's been a whole year. Personally, what speaks to me about the vision of Downtown Faith is the idea of creating a safe place to discuss life and faith. Specifically, a safe place, because I personally feel like in my relationships with a lot of my friends that we don't normally talk about our life and faith with each other because there's so much unknown, there's a lot of different opinions, and honestly, that's the conversation we need to have the most. Because when we struggle, when we have challenges, we feel like we can't overcome, it's about our life, it's about our faith, what we believe in, that determines our actions. And when we don't talk about it, we just continue struggling. So we need that safe place to really, because the same way we need humans, that's why there's not one of us. We need that safe place to be together and grow and talk about our life and faith. A safe place is going to be free of fear, free of judgment, and full of respect and love. I encourage people to embrace the vision of Downtown Faith by coming as you are. I think when people hear that we're in church, they think, oh, I have to be Christian. And honestly, that's the thing that I like the most. The reason that I honestly joined the core team of Downtown Faith is because it's not just about Christians. It's about everything you believe. It's a safe place to discuss life and faith, not necessarily Christianity. Your life and your faith, what you believe, whether it's different from me. I want people to come that believe different from me, because that'll challenge me and my faith, and I might challenge them the same way. Ultimately, we'll grow together.